welcome to Cloverleaf Icebreakers and Activities. So we get this request a lot, and we're so glad that a lot of you spoke up and asked for this topic from our last webinar. So we are going to jump right in. So today we're going to do a quick poll and just ask you a little bit about yourselves. We're going to do a quick overview about microlearning. So a lot of the features that have been added to Cloverleaf in the past 6 months have really increased the opportunities for microlearning, and a lot of the icebreakers and activities we're going to be talking about today incorporate the use of some of those features. So we're just going to make sure that everybody's up to date on what's available to them. Then we're going to talk to you about the role of the leader in all of these icebreakers and activities. And we're also going to refer you to a previous webinar, which was all about how to boost team engagement. So that'll be a resource for you. If you need to get your leaders more engaged in using Cloverleaf, we have some ideas and exercises for you that we did in a previous webinar. So we're going to talk today about icebreakers and activities for team meetings. You can use them at the beginning, you can use them at the end, you can use them for virtual meetings, for in-person meetings. We're going to talk to you also about an icebreaker, an activity you can use for conflict mediation. So conflict Cloverleaf is a gold mine for being able to resolve conflict and being able to really understand another person and some of their motivations and some of their actions. And so we actually created an exercise that you can use if you have to work with two people and you're mediating some conflict there. Then I'm going to give you two activities that I've used before in in-person offsites. These are longer activities with discussion. Now, here's the thing. You can do this also virtually with breakout rooms. So if it's a big virtual event where you're having a bigger, larger team meeting, you can convert these to virtual and just use breakout rooms. But these are also really great for in-person offsites. If you get together with groups of people on a semi-annual or quarterly basis, these are super helpful for that as well. So we're super excited. Again, Jason shared in the chat the resource. And so that resource is right here. So you'll notice that it's really awesome for when you go back to it later, you can click on the different areas and it's going to take you right to it. So all the instructions of all of these activities are all already here for you. So if you want to grab that resource, you can. If you're a person that wants to follow along with us, it's a great way to just stay connected to some of the material that we're going over. Then we're going to allow you to ask any questions. Also, if you want to pop any questions in the chat, you can do that. Jason's going to be in the chat supporting us today. And Jason is also going to be a guinea pig. I'm going to demonstrate one of our most popular activities as well. We're going to get started. We're also going to ask you for feedback. Now, that's super important. Today's whole webinar was based on your feedback. So the more specific you are with us, the more we're able to deliver other learning experiences to support you in your use of Cloverleaf with your team and your organization, if you're a partner of ours, with your clients and customers. So please make sure to stick around to give us that feedback. That is super helpful. All right, quick poll. We just want to know a little bit about who you are. So tell us a little bit about the role that best describes you. So Jason's going to share that poll. Let us know what role best describes you. Are you a senior or C-suite talent or learning leader? Are you a director or manager level talent learning leader? Are you a manager of a team? You're a person who has your team on Cloverleaf. Are you an individual contributor? You're a Cloverleaf user, and maybe you're on a team and you're using the tool with your team. Or are you a coach or consultant, one of our partners who uses Cloverleaf with the organizations that they support? So if you would just let us know a little bit about who you are, that would be great. Give us another couple of seconds.
Man, I love how responsive everybody is. We have 80% so far. So just a couple more folks, if you want to share, feel free.
Let us know who you are, what best describes you. Great. Awesome. All right, I think we're a minute in. We have about 86% participation. It's a pretty good read. So if you want to maybe share out that poll. So we have our biggest audience in that director or manager level talent learning leader. followed up. Oh, actually, sorry. Our biggest audience is our individual contributor. We love that. We love that. You must be Cloverleaf champion. So individual contributors that are part of a team. So glad to have you here. And we also have right behind you as director or manager level talent learning leaders. And also so happy to see representation from those senior talent learning leaders, managers, and obviously our coaches and consultants. We love you as well. Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. Just a little helps us to get to know our audience here. And let's get started right away. So one of the things that you're going to see in some of the features that I'm sharing with you in some of these activities really incorporate or integrate microlearning into the development individually and at the team level. So microlearning is really just delivering learning and development content in short and succinct format. That's really all it is. And if you look at some of the data around microlearning, companies, this is from SHRM, companies that have embraced microlearning witnessed a remarkable 130% increase in both employee engagement and productivity when microlearning was incorporated into their development strategy. So many of these activities can actually be this little microlearning slip-in inside of your development strategy. So according to Google Trends data collected just last July, the term microlearning, there's been a significant increase in interest since July 2010. So you can see people trying to understand, what is this? How do we do more of it? It seems like people want more development in the flow of work. So that's really what Cloverleaf is about, is giving you that opportunity through automated coaching to develop yourself and your team in the flow of work. And in terms of the microlearning spectrum, I'm a trainer. I do a lot of training, and I integrate Cloverleaf into all my training. And I purposely design my training programs to be very actionable. Like, I teach a skill, they have to practice. I teach a skill, they have to practice. But when we're talking about virtual instructor-led training, it's not always individualized. It can be a shorter learning experience, and people appreciate it because it doesn't take up too much of their day. And maybe it takes 20 to 60 minutes. Now we have self-paced learning, which again can be very valuable, but it's not always specific, right? It might be about a general topic because it's created beforehand, it's self-paced learning, right? When we're doing instructor-led training, we can customize it a little bit. But automated coaching through Cloverleaf takes a very short amount of time. It can be done repetitively, and it's contextual. It's me in the context of who I am right now on my team. It's my team member, who they are right now on my team. So it's delivering me personalized learning and development. It's personal, it's specific to me, and it allows me to do it in these short clips so that I can really take advantage of my development in the flow of my work. So, we have to create the foundation for all of this, right? And so if you want to do any of these activities, it's also really important. Many of these activities require leaders who model the use of Cloverleaf. But since we have so many individual contributors here, you can be a Cloverleaf champion and you can be the leader within your team, right? Leader does not mean person with direct reports. Leader means anyone willing to make a difference in an organization, even if they don't have a formal role. So you as an individual contributor, you can absolutely be the Cloverleaf champion on your team. Go to your leader and say, hey, let's use this more. Let's have this support our team, right? So you need some kind of championing of Cloverleaf within the teams for some of these things to actually work. So we did do a webinar called Boosting Cloverleaf Engagement, and you can see that previous webinar. Jason, can you just share that in the chat? And it is a webinar called Creative Strategies to Boost Engagement on Cloverleaf. And so there's a lot of great ideas here to get more people into Cloverleaf. There's a whole video and there's all kinds of resources here. So Jason's going to share that. I just recommend that if it's like, hey, these activities seem great, but I need to get more people into Cloverleaf, you're going to really have a great time with this material as well. Okay. So again, if you're just joining us, we are working inside our resource. Jason, I'll ask you to just pop that in the chat again, Cloverleaf icebreakers and activities. We're going to start here with team meetings, right? So this first activity is called Insights in Action, and it can be about 5 to 10 minutes, depending on the size of your team. Now, the purpose of it is encouraging action from Cloverleaf automated coaching to enhance team development. So the first thing you're going to do if you're a leader, or you can also propose this to your leader, hey, why don't we try this, right? Meet with your team and let them know that, hey, for the next 4 weeks, you can say 4 weeks, you can do 3 weeks, you can do 2 weeks, you can do whatever you want here. Okay. You want them to commit to consuming their coaching tips as often as possible. This can be via email or the daily coaching reflections feature. Now, I am going to hop on Cloverleaf for a minute because I am kind of obsessed with this daily reflections feature. So why this is so important is this is actual coaching, right? Coaching means that you ask me a question and I do my own thinking, right? So if I view my daily coaching, I'm going to get a tip about myself and it's going to ask me to reflect on that and actually create an answer here. So as someone talented in communication, I can turn simple ideas into exciting stories for maximum impact. Work with your team to develop strong presentations that are customized to the audience. So it's going to ask me to reflect on a recent idea. I communicate it. How can I transform it into an engaging story for your next team presentation, right? So maybe I want to tell a powerful story of how to engage leaders on Cloverleaf, right? And I want to bring that to a future webinar. Now, let's say I want to discuss this with my leader. I might even share this with her and say, hey, I want to talk about this with you, right? And I'm now going to take an action, right? I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to bring this to my leader in a one-on-one meeting. I'm also going to get a tip about someone on my team, right? So with the strategic strength, Lane is a dynamo at big picture thinking and keeping progress moving towards an end goal. If your strength lies in managing details, look to partner with Lane to consider what both of you might be missing. Pair your strengths for thorough and ongoing situational analysis. So how can my detail-oriented approach complement Lane's strategic vision to enhance team success? Well, I can connect with Lane and share some of my user insights to inform product development. And maybe I reach out to Lane and say, hey, I'd love to have a conversation with you. I want to share some information that I think might be helpful for you, right? And so maybe I take an action there. So that takes about 2 minutes maximum. It's not a lot of time. So what you're doing is you're kind of saying, hey, team, we're going to do this. We're going to commit to either opening up our email and reading our tip, or if you want to go further, actually do your reflections, right? And each week, you're going to basically challenge each team member to take and track at least one tangible action in response to this tip. This can be anything from maybe reaching out to a person who, like, I could go reach out to Lane and say, hey, Lane, can we set up a meeting? I'd love to grab some time on your calendar. This tip reminds me about something like I don't work with Lane. She's not on my team, right? She works in my company, but we don't cross paths a lot. So this would be a great action for me to take. So basically you're saying to the team, hey, we want you to consume Cloverleaf content a couple times a week, as much as you can. Who's willing to go every day? Who's willing to do 2-3 times, whatever it is? And then come to either your one-on-one meeting or a team meeting to bring that tangible action to light. You're going to share that tangible action. So for example, you might open up at the team meeting, like who wants to share the action they took based on one of their Cloverleaf tips, right? If you don't have a weekly team meeting, maybe you won't have it every other week, that's fine. You can bring the action to your leader, okay? So you can be really flexible here. This has a lot of flexibility in it, but you really are trying to get people to actually look at this and do what they need to do. And you're not asking that much of them, right? You're not asking them to go attend a 3-day training. You're not asking them to go and, consume all this self-paced learning. You're saying, hey, can I get you to spend 2 minutes, 3 days a week? Can I count on you for 6 minutes of developing yourself? And here's the deal. We need to be willing, everybody on this webinar, we need to be willing to invest that 6 minutes in ourselves as well. And I say that that's a light lift for people to do. I work with people, I have them put it on their calendar. Hey, consume your Cloverleaf information right away. Right. And so again, this is just an insights in action. And this also is very helpful if you really need to engage a team in being a little bit more proactive in reaching out to other people. Maybe you're all virtual or maybe you're hybrid and you need people to take more conscious action to create better team cohesion. When you take an action on the tip that you get about your team member, you're creating more moments, more interactions with team members, and you're using and the sharing of those team breakers as an icebreaker in a meeting that can really spark the person who's not been doing it, like, oh, that sounds like something I should probably do. So it kind of puts positive social pressure also on the people that might not be doing it as much. As people share what they're doing, people are going to say, hey, I want to get in on this train, and I want to make sure that I'm taking action with my Cloverleaf tips as well. So I'm going to just pause for a second. If you have any questions about this, maybe you want to know, hey, can this be used in this way or that way? Maybe you've tried something like this. So if you have a question and you want to pop it in the chat, you can. If you want to share maybe how you use this, you can raise your hand and I'll unmute a person to share. So I'll give you a moment if you want to ask a question or you want to share, hey, we've done something like this, and we can have a guest speaker. So anyone like to share? Let's see here.
And just a reminder, if you do want to share in the chat, make sure your settings are set to everyone, so that way we can all see how you share.
And you can use the raise your hand functionality, and if you do want to share something. If not, we'll keep moving. You can also raise your hand and we'll catch it at a later time. And if you have any questions, you can pop it in the chat as well. All right. Oh, Daniela, awesome. Hey, Daniela. Welcome to the webinar.
Hi, sorry, I typed the wrong button.
Oh, okay. Well,
but I was just going to say that if anyone can share or if you can share an example just to be clear on how we can use this.
Okay. So it's kind of what I shared earlier around I went and did my Cloverleaf reflection. So I went onto my Cloverleaf profile. So basically the team leader is saying, hey, everyone, for the next couple of weeks, you're going to interact with Cloverleaf, whether through your email or reflections, 3 days a week. The leader can set the time. The leader can say every day. The leader can say 3 days a week, whatever it is. And so people are going to commit to that frequency, right? And what I just did here, right? And then the idea is that they're going to take an action based upon what they got. So for example, because I set this action with Lane, I'm going to reach out to Lane and say, hey, let's have a meeting so that we can put our heads together. When I come to my team meeting, I'm going to say, hey, I reached out to Lane because I got a tip about her. And we had this great meeting and came up with this idea. And now we're going to do X, Y, Z, right? So you're kind of inspiring people with the fact that you used the feature, but then you also took action on it. And then the icebreaker is the people sharing what they did. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure.
Awesome. Excellent.
Yeah,
thank you very much. Great. Okay. All right. So we're going to move to a little bit of, the challenge. And then you want people to basically track one tangible action in response to the Cloverleaf coaching. And that's the action that they're bringing to the meeting. And again, it can be a one-on-one meeting or a team meeting that they bring it to. Okay, so this is a little lighter kind of format of this activity. It's called Moments That Matter. It can be 5 to 7 minutes. Its purpose is to increase intentionality. It also is great if you're working with a new team to help them develop. It's a less formal version of the activity we just described. You basically start a meeting by asking people to share a Cloverleaf moment that matters. This can be a reflection on a tip they got or something new that they learned about a team member by consuming a tip about someone else. Now, the best possible way to do this is also to have the leader share first. Like, hey, I got a tip about Jason this week, and it sparked an idea. And I actually used Jason as a sounding board because I didn't realize that he had this strength of being able to coordinate different education material in a really unique, creative way, right? And I learned that through Cloverleaf, and then I took an action, right? So you are just basically asking people to share that Cloverleaf moment that mattered. Sometimes it's a tip about themselves. Hey, I was reminded a little bit about how I could prepare better for meetings, and I changed my presentation. And because of that, I really felt more confident going into it. And I really feel like I got the result I wanted in my meeting, right? So again, you're just opening up or closing the meeting, right, with a little bit of a Cloverleaf moment that matters, right? Again, it can be used to open or close the meeting. It requires gaining commitment and modeling from the leader. Again, you've got to gain commitment, like, hey, everyone, I'm going to be kicking off our team meetings with Cloverleaf moments that matter. So I want you to bring to me some insight, something you learned by using Cloverleaf every time we start our meeting, right? And again, as people share, you're going to, and maybe if there's some people that are not engaged with Cloverleaf, they're going to get inspired to do that because they're going to hear some of that sharing, okay? Again, it's a little bit less formal than the previous activity, but that leader really has to model it as well. Okay? Awesome. So Dr. Renee said, I do share the coaching tips on my group text chats, and this example has helped others to do the same. Excellent. Abby shared, I love how intuitive the coaching tips are. If I have a meeting with a team member later in the day, it will include a way we can work together. Yes, awesome. Yeah, I read mine almost every day. Paula, yes, I read mine every day too. When something really resonates with me, I share it with the person. And that's a perfect example of the first activity, right? Hey, I learned this about you. Like, I'm so excited that maybe we can work in this capacity together, right? And even with people that you've known for a while, it's interesting what you can learn. Okay, so you may have seen me demonstrate this before, but this is Cloverleaf Hot Seat. And the purpose of this is really around informal recognition. It takes about 5 to 7 minutes per round. There's instructions in the resource, but I'm going to demonstrate it for you. It's a little more fun to demonstrate it. I'm going to demonstrate it with you, with Jason. So, hey, Jason, how are you?
Coming
Okay.
off.
Okay.
I'm doing okay. How are you?
Okay, great. Now, if I was with a group of people and I would say, who wants to be in the Cloverleaf hot seat? Jason, you might volunteer yourself. Oh, Jason volunteers to be in the Cloverleaf hot seat. So all you do as the facilitator here is you go to Jason's profile and I say, hey, Jason, pick a category. Don't pick conflict triggers because this is a informal recognition exercise, but pick a category here. I'll do my little game show thing.
Let's go with communication style.
Awesome. Okay. Okay. I'm going to pick, I kind of like to scroll here and okay, here we go. I'm going to go with this one. So Jason likely enjoys having a firm grasp on future projects and plans in order to maintain a routine-driven mindset and make the necessary preparations. If you want to see projects get off to a bold and brilliant start, keep Jason in the loop on what is to come. So Jason, can you share with me how this resonates with you and maybe even give me an example of something recently?
Yeah. This, for one, I think is very true of myself. I not only like to have that firm grasp to maintain a routine, I also like to know and prepare for any risks or anything
Oh,
like that. So,
excellent.
a recent example, and this is real life, uh, at work, we are working on sending out like a quarterly NPS survey, and I am leading that project, creating it, building all the rules for it, making sure that I've got everything built and how it's going to send, who we're going to send it to. Um, so my boss included me early on in this project, and as we kind of got ready to launch it, knowing and having the details of what my boss communicated to me, I was able to set everything up, prepare for any kind of risk or pushback or objections, what have you, and kind of get everything lined up for a hopeful launch tomorrow.
Awesome. Excellent. And thank you for sharing that super recent example.
Yeah.
And so after I get Jason to share this, I would open it up to the team and say, hey, how does this tip about Jason resonate with you? And maybe give me an example of how you've interacted with Jason recently in light of this tip. So I might pipe up if I'm on the team and I might say, actually, Jason and I work very closely together with producing these webinars. And I recently had a meeting with another team member in our organization about streamlining communications with these webinars. So because I do know I want to keep Jason in the loop, right before this webinar, I actually said, hey, Jason, I'm going to put some time on your calendar next week. I want to keep you in the loop about my conversation with Julie and how we can work together, right? And so I know I want to get collaborative as soon as possible with Jason because I know he appreciates that. And I also know that we collaborate well together. So example of how I'm understanding Jason and taking action on that. Now, if there were other people here that were on our team, they might pipe up and share something about Jason. This does not take that long. You can use this to open or close a meeting. You can do a couple of rounds. You can also, if you were in a live situation where you were at an offsite, you can, if you have people that have their computers, you can give this as a small group activity, right? For people to share in their small groups. So I do this often when I'm doing team sessions with our customers. I do this often when I'm doing training sessions. If you're doing it with the team, I don't recommend doing it more than once a month, right? It can be a monthly, like, hey, we're going to do Cloverleaf Hot Seat. This is also especially valuable if you have a virtual team that does not bump into each other in the hallway, right? And you really need to kind of uncover those moments that sometimes never get spoken. Sometimes people say, hey, I leveraged Jason, for XYZ, and it made such a difference, right? And you get to not only be recognized, but you get to hear how your team is recognizing each other. It's a very empowering experience. Again, you can amend it and use it in whatever way you want. And it can take, again, if you want to do one round of it, it can take a couple minutes. If you want to do a couple rounds, you can extend how often or how long that you do it in a meeting. So thank you, Jason, for that. I appreciate it. I want to go back to our team dashboard because we're going to need it for our next activity. Okay, so this one is a little bit more related to conflict. And this is not so much an activity as it is a process to use Cloverleaf for working with conflict with people. The activity is kind of individual. It's given to the people who you're trying to mediate conflict between. The purpose is to really use a creative approach to conflict mediation between two team members. It's more about leveraging Cloverleaf to give structure to resolving conflict. So I love to teach about conflict. So a lot of the training I do, I help people understand their conflict style. I incorporate Cloverleaf into it. People get so afraid and so scared of conflict. The highest performing teams actually allow themselves to engage in healthy task conflict for innovation. So you may have two people that are really having a hard time working together, right? And maybe you need to be able to support either a leader or a peer in being able to work together with another person. So this activity can be shared with leaders as well. Basically, you're going to set a meeting with both people. Hey, let's just work this out, right? Let's figure out how we can all work together best. You're going to assign some Cloverleaf use. So if you look at your resource, you're basically going to assign each person to spend at least 15 minutes prior to the meeting reviewing the other person's profile and coaching insights, and bring one insight about the other person to the meeting. So for example, if our boss, Mindy, was mediating conflict between me and Jason, I would go to Jason's profile. I would consume as much as I could. I would read his coaching insights like we just shared. He would do the same about me. Now we would come together to our meeting, and the meeting would open and each person would share one thing they learned from viewing the other person's profile. I want to tell you why this is important. We are never judged by our intentions. We are always judged by our behavior and our actions, which is why every single person on this webinar has said at least once in their life, that's not what I meant, right? Our intention is never what is the first thing people actually interact with. So me and Jason may have all good intentions, but if we're not communicating powerfully and we're not understanding how each person operates, that good intention is not going to be what carries the day. It's not going to be what leads our interactions. And so by using Cloverleaf as this assignment, right? Now, here's the thing. People waste a lot of time in conflict mediation listening to drama and details. Don't even get into it. The drama and the details is what makes it worse. Hey, I want you to learn a little bit about Jason. I want you to learn a little bit about Stephanie, and we're going to come together and figure this out. And then you're going to share thinking styles. So I'm going to go back onto the team dashboard, and you can pull up any assessment that you want. I'm going to use DISC here, right? And I'm going to bring up myself, and I'm going to bring up Jason. Okay. And so I might, as I'm doing this, right, I'm going to utilize the thinking styles comparison on the dashboard. I might even share it with them, right? And I might say, hey, let's look at this, right? Given what you notice, you're going to ask each person, given what you notice about your different or similar thinking styles, what would you have done differently in the situation at hand, right? So you kind of ask people to kind of consume this information, right? Given what we see here, what would you do differently? What do you understand newly about the person? So you, as the mediator, you're now asking some questions. Given what you understand about each other, what can you do differently going forward with the other person or persons? So what you're doing here is you're using Cloverleaf as the catalyst to mediate the conflict. You're using the learning about each other to inform how that conflict's getting mediated. And the great part about this is the content that's on Cloverleaf is a little bit depersonalized. It's not coming from anyone. It's on the screen. So there's no leader saying, hey, you know, Stephanie and Jason likely have opposite styles. There's no leader saying that. There's no voice there, right? So it's a little bit easier to consume than the leader talking and trying to work it out and trying to analyze the situation. It depersonalizes conflict, and it really facilitates the two people learning to work together better. And that's ultimately what you want. Right. And so this is a really great exercise to use when you are mediating conflict. Again, if you have any questions, pop them in the chat. We're going to keep rolling here. And again, these are all flexible exercises. You can amend these, personalize them, add your own signature style, suggest them to someone in an organization. We're going to move to offsites. So this is the small group assessment specific breakout exercise, right? And so this could take anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour, but it does require some preparation beforehand, right? So what you want to do is, if you're the person who is facilitating, or if you're the leader, or if you're the individual contributor and you want to brainstorm, you're basically, before the meeting, you're brainstorming 3 areas, right, where our team really needs to see improvement, or this group of people really needs to see improvement. So for example, I was doing a offsite with 40 Cloverleaf users. They were all together. I was virtual. And I met with the leader beforehand. I say, okay, tell me your 3 top challenges now that you really want to solve for during this workshop. And this is what the leader came up with. And then I kind of fashioned some discussion questions. So basically what I did, and you can do this with Enneagram or DISC. So in the resource, you're going to see links to Enneagram or DISC resources. In this specific session, I actually did this with Enneagram. So I'm going to bring up a bigger team. I'm going to bring up the whole, because it was 40 people. I'm going to bring up the whole Cloverleaf company. Let me see if I can. Yeah, there we go. So I looked at the Enneagram and how everybody laid out here. And then I went ahead and I made specific groups that were very diverse. So for example, I took all the 7s and I made, like, if I was going to do 6 groups, like, I would basically distribute the groups as evenly as possible. I also wanted to have as much equal representation from each triad, right? And for those of you that want to dig deeper into the Enneagram triad, there is a lot of content directly inside the app that will tell you how to describe or how to understand people in this triad. What are their strengths? What are their blind spots? And if you're not in this triad, how can you best work with them? So if you want to understand and go deeper about why it's great to have diverse Enneagram triads, they basically all bring a unique decision-making lens that helps to make a balanced decision, right? And so I made those mixed group breakouts. Then I said, okay, group 1, you're going to do accountability. Group 2, you're going to do communication. It's okay if the topics were repeated. We obviously had more than 3 groups. So a couple of different groups, did some of the same topics. And their job in their small group discussion was to come up with one best practice that they were going to pitch to the group about how they could solve for this problem. And so then after everybody was done, we gave them about 15, 20 minutes to talk. And they came back, and it also, if you want to do it with disc, you can use the disc wheel, and you can evenly distribute people. And then you basically bring people back to pitch their idea. And then you facilitate a larger group discussion about the viability of all the practices that you heard. And hey, which practice really resonates? Which could support the team? And then you kind of do some coaching around actioning the best practice that seems like the most doable, right? And you also want to do a little meta conversation. You want to say to people, hey, what did you notice about the different approaches people took in their conversation? What did you appreciate about a person's approach that was different from your own, right? So you do want to let them know, hey, this is purposefully giving you a diverse experience. This can take anywhere, again, from 45 minutes to an hour, even longer if you want, depending on the group size. But the purpose of this is to use some of the data that's on the team dashboard, but to also have it be relevant to solve real challenges that are happening right now in our team, right? So I've used this successfully a couple of times, and it's been really helpful to, to really get people talking. I might do a little bit informational talk about Enneagram, and again, I've linked resources in your resource where you can understand a little bit more about Enneagram if you do want to do that exercise. All right. So I just did this recently, and this is super fun, but it also demonstrates why Cloverleaf is also really effective. So this is a disc sales exercise. It does not have to be done with people in sales. The idea is that it does not matter, right? It's a sales exercise, but it's for any group of people. This works with groups of like 20 or more, where you have several groups of like 4 or 6 people. You need at least 3 people of each disc style with a dominant score. For example, you need at least 3 Ds, 3 Is, 3 Ss, 3 Cs as their highest score. The purpose of this activity is to consider how to approach getting buy-in from a different disc style and to customize communication to that specific style. And that is exactly what Cloverleaf helps people to do, to actually customize their communication. So you present a brief overview of disc and the different styles. I provided a link for you for some disc resources. You do not need to be a disc expert here. We have so much information. You can share information about each type and ask those who have that type to share what resonates with them. Let each style speak for itself. Let them educate each other. Remind each person to listen to the different styles, because they're going to be using that knowledge in the activity. So now you basically separate the groups. All the Ds over here, all the Is over here, all the S's over here, all the C's over here. You're separating them. If they have 2 letters if like I'm an ID, I would go with the Is. If I was a DI, I would go with the Ds. So you're putting them with their highest score, okay? You should have only 4 groups, and some of the groups might be bigger than others. It's okay, right? You're going to assign each group to invent a new cutting edge product that will help people work or communicate better. There's no boundaries here. Let them have fun with it. If you want to tell them something more specific to create, you can. Each group then creates a company name and a sales pitch to sell their opposite style. The pitch should just be like 5 to 7 minutes, and it's going to factor in the disc style of their audience. So for example, the Ds are going to sell to S's. I apologize. This is in the resource, it's a little flipped around. The S's are going to sell to D's. Oh yeah, that is correct. The I's are going to sell to C's, and the C's are going to sell to I's. So they're going to sell, right? They're going to create their sales pitch. If I'm an I, I'm going to create my sales pitch. How can I win with the C? So it's going to force me to understand a little bit more about a type that's not the same as mine. And it's going to force me to fashion that sales pitch so that I can communicate effectively. After each pitch, the group being sold then shares what worked and what didn't work for them. So after the I's sell to the C's could say, hey, I wanted a little bit more data. I wanted a little bit more proof of why this product worked. I wanted a little bit more testimonials from previous customers. Again, this is not about people being in sales. It's about how do you get buy-in from someone that's a different disc style than you. So after each pitch, you're collecting feedback, and then you're facilitating a large group wrap up about customizing communication and how Cloverleaf overall can help with this. And so what I would recommend, so, hey, see, we just customized just using Disc. So what I would recommend is actually now going to the dashboard and demonstrating how you can customize your communication in other ways using Cloverleaf. So for example, how can I give feedback to Heidi, right? And don't worry, this is not Instagram. Nobody knows if you tag them. And so I can personalize my communication with Heidi before I go into that conversation by just using this feature. So what you're trying to do is show people the power of customizing communication. You're using Disc as sort of the fuel, but then you're also bringing it back to Cloverleaf and saying, how can this be helpful to you? Imagine if you were able to get these insights on people before a lot of those challenging conversations, or before you had to get buy-in, or before you had to collaborate across functions. What would this mean for you, right? And so maybe you challenge people to try this in certain situations, but this can be a really, really powerful activity for you to do. All right. I know I gave you a lot of information, so I want to give you the opportunity to ask questions. For anybody asking if this is recorded, yes, this is recorded, so not to worry. And it's going to go right into your resource. It's going to be embedded right here as soon as we get the recording. But I want to give you the opportunity to ask any questions. On offsite example with 40 people, once I distributed the audience into small groups to discuss a topic, how is Cloverleaf used in the subgroups? So Cloverleaf was just exactly as you said. It was used to form diverse groups and then let them talk, right? And then I might have talked a little bit about Enneagram, but the purpose is they all took Enneagram on Cloverleaf before. And I also shared with them when I was on the team dashboard, I also shared with them, hey, if you have to have a meeting or get buy-in from someone not in your triad, I would say, hey, make sure that you go into Cloverleaf and use this as a guide, right? So again, you're showing them how to use the information beyond the offsite so that you, or the exercise, so they can leverage it in their conversations. All right. So I want to hear from a few of you, which is the one activity from today that you want to try right away? So what feels like most actionable to you? So pop it in the chat. We want to hear from as many of you as possible. What feels like the most actionable activity from today? So share it in the chat. And if you want to ask any questions, please feel free to ask any additional questions in the chat as well, and we will answer them.